Okay, so we've done idle timeouts, we've done absolute timeouts. What else have we got? Let's have a look at this. What about with the absolute timeout? Maybe you're a little bit worried about keeping that open. So here's one. Here's one. Let's just get rid of this absolute timeout for now. Let's get rid of that. We'll get rid of the exec timeout as well. So it goes back to the default of 10 minutes, right? Let's say we set this to be never timeout ever. All right. So we'll say exec timeout 0 0. Yeah. So that means it doesn't matter how infrequently you type on that keyboard. You could telnet to this router and leave it running for weeks, months, or years. Yeah. And it would stay open. Now that's a bad thing because clearly you've got 5 VTY ports there by default out of the box, and if each of those ports is being used, let's say you've got 5 administrators and they all telnet on and leave their telnet windows running, then administrator number 6 can't get on the box. So that's a bad thing. And let's say 1 or 2 of those administrators have closed their telnet session. They've closed it and walked away. But as far as the router is concerned, that exec timeout is set to never timeout. So it's going to hold that VTY port open forever and ever and ever. And that's a bad thing, right? So what you want to do is you want to get the router to proactively check if that remote session is up or not. Yeah, if that remote telnet person is still available, the session is still open. So there's an application at the other end of that telnet session and it's still live. So what we do with that is we turn on what's service TCP keep alive and inbound. Yeah, inbound. So what that will do is it'll send a TCP hello just to see that the application is running on the other side. So even if you've got your exec timeout to set to never expire, and the administrator on the other end has closed down their application, now the router will proactively terminate that telnet session. So that's quite a nice thing. I've used that a few times. What else we got? Okay, so we've telnetted in, right, and the VTY port has a few protocols that will allow you to come into it. So let's just go back into line VTY 04. All right. Now I've already told you that there's already a telnet inbound. So but transport is the keyword here. So transport input on the VTY ports, and then a question mark gives you these choices here. And probably the two main ones that we'd use is SSH and telnet, right? So you're going to SSH your telnet onto the box, gives you a nice CLI prompt, and you can use that. But some of the other ones are equally valid, I guess, if you've got some legacy applications. Certainly, I remember the packet disassembler stuff from when I was at university. I don't think I've ever seen that since like 1995. So I guess that's a bit legacy. But anyway. So we're going to say transport input. So we'll allow telnet inbound. All right, telnet inbound, which is what we'd expect. And let's say we can only outbound with SSH. All right, so output SSH. So this means from R1 I can only telnet. So from R1, if I have telnetted onto R1, yeah. So input telnet. Let's say I telnet onto R1. I can only SSH out of R1. I can't telnet out of R1 if I've telnetted into R1, if you see what I mean. So let's prove this out because that sounds a little crazy. But so our transport input is telnet. Let's telnet onto the box. Telnet to R1. Here we go. Cisco, all normal stuff. Now from R1, let's telnet to R2. Let's telnet to 10.1.12.2. Now I appreciate we've not configured the VTY port, but it shouldn't get that far. You see telnet connections not permitted from this terminal? You see that? That is all because we did transport output SSH. Now let's do transport output telnet. We should get a completely different response here. It'll say password not set. There you go. Alright? And that's because we didn't do that stuff that we've done earlier. Alright? So there you go. So you can it's a nice little security trick, I guess, in a way. You know, you can stop people using your router as some sort of midway hop or something like that. So we've got 4 VTY. Let's come out of that. We've got 4 VTY ports by default. Let's say you want to say, let's say you've got, let's use the example we had before. You've got 5 administrators, and each one of those needs a VTY port, and that's all well and good. You've got 5 VTY ports from 0 to 4, so that's great. But let's say you, as their administrator, the administrator of the administrators, or the BFH. You want to get onto you want to get access to this router yourself, right? Let's just say you want to do that, and you don't want anyone else to be able to access your port, right? So you know the password for all the administrator users, but they don't know your password, yeah, or they haven't got your IP address or something like that, yeah. You want to facilitate you getting access when nobody else can get on the box. Let's do this. Okay, so we're gonna configure VTY port 5, which is the 6th user of the device. Right, so we've got 5 administrators plus you want to get secure access to it. So line VTY 05. Okay, so now we should have, if we do a show line, we've got a new one, 103. Yeah, and that's going to be you. That's going to be you. That's your personal VTY port on R1. All right, only you get access to that. If we go into line VTY 5, set a password, we'll give it the same password. Log in. Yeah, that's all normal, right? So now anyone who knows the password Cisco can get into line VTY 5. All right. What you could do is say password Cisco 1. So line VTY 0 through 4, password is Cisco. So all your administrators can telnet on and use their VTYs. But when they get to VTY 5, they can't log in because they haven't got that password. Password Cisco 1. Okay, we can go further than that, and we can put an access class on it. So we put an access class 1 in. When we create an access list with access list 1 with the IP address of, say, your workstation, then only your workstation can telnet into VTY port 5, and no one else can. Okay, so let's work on that one. Let's put the password back to Cisco. All right, so all the VTY ports have got password Cisco, but only VTY 5 has the access class 1 in. Let's create an access list 1 permitting host 2.2.2.2. All right. Now I've chosen 2.2.2.2 because what I thought we'd maybe do is put a loopback interface on R2 and then telnet from that loopback interface to R1 just to prove this out. All right. So we've got VTY 5 access class 1 in and an access list 1 permit blah 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 blah. All right. So let's just create some loopback interfaces here. IP address 101.1.1 2.5.2.5.2.5.0, and then I'm going to just for speed configure RIP on this. Let's put 1.0.0.0, and we've got 10 there, so 10, and we'll do the same on R2. Let's do conf t int loopback 0, IP address 2222 255.255.255.0, and router RIP network 2 and network 10. Alright, so what I've done there really quickly, I've configured loopback 0 on here with 1.1.1.1 and loopback 0 on here with 2.2.2.2, and I've enabled RIP on this link in between both, and we've put the loopback of each side and this network here into the root process. So let's just make sure that's in there. So on router 1 I've got a route to 1, and on router 1 I should have a route to 1 to 2. Let's have a look at that. We've got that. Alright, great. So each can see each other. Right, on R2 now, administrator 1 wishes to talk to R1, please. So let's do that. 10.1.12.1. So this is administrator 1 logging in with Cisco. Brilliant. I'm going to do a control shift 6 X to come out of that. Administrator 2 connects to VTY 1. Administrator 3. Administrator 4. And finally, Administrator 5. So what happens? So now all the VTY ports are enabled. Let's have let's have a look at this. Let's just do a show users. We should see that. So these are all connected. You can see that there's an idle session running there, yeah. And there's my remote location 10.1.12.2, which is R2. All right, so you can see each of those 5 VTY ports is in use. So here's you now. You're coming along, and you want to telnet to R1, and you can't. You goosed because all the VTY ports are full. Oh my word! What am I going to do? That's right. You set up some secure access, right? You set up some secure access for host on 2.2.2.2. All right. So if we telnet to 10.1.12.1 using a source of your loopback interface, you should get in because your loopback interface had the IP address 2.2.2.2. Let's check this out. And there we go. Password Cisco, and you're on R1. And now, instead of line 98 to 102, you should have 98 to 103, which you do. But you see this source there, 2.2.2.2. So that's a nice way to permit yourself some access when all around you are abusing their privileges and won't let you on. What else? What else can we cover? Oh, sorry, yeah, on that telnet thing there. You know, you don't have to. Let me just come out of all of these sessions. Not that one. That's the last one. Okay. You don't have to do that with the /source loopback 0. You don't have to do that. If you want to default all of your telnet requests to come from a particular IP address, you can use the IP telnet source interface. Yeah, source interface, and then so it's the source of your interface. Yeah. So if you do IP telnet source interface loopback 0, that'll source any telnet that I make out of here on loopback 0. And just to prove that out, let's log into R1. We'll do a quick show users, and where the location used to be 10.1.12.2, we should see 2.2.2.2, which we do. Okay, so I think that's all I've got time for now, and I've got to scoot off. So I'll do some more maybe on this another time, but for now, thank you for your attention. Hopefully see you on the website. Drop me some comments. It's doing my head in that there's not very many comments on there. I'm thinking of putting a forum on. If you want a forum, if you want to see a forum, then let me know. If you want to see any more videos, drop me an email and give me some suggestions for what you'd like me to cover off. But as for now, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And take care of yourselves. Good luck studying. Bye, everyone.